thank you very much for your warm reception. It's always good to be home, and it's especially great to be home on the brink of what I believe will be an election victory by Democrats next week. Michaud for governor. For the U.S. Senate. Emily Kane for Congress in the 2nd District. And Shelley Pingree right here in the 1st District again. We here tonight are all proud to welcome our President, Barack Obama. He led this country out of the worst economic recession in a century. Last month, American businesses added 236,000 new jobs. The unemployment rate fell to under 6% for the first time in more than 6 years. Over the past 55 months under his leadership, our businesses have added 10.3 million new jobs. That's the longest uninterrupted stretch of private sector job creation in American history. Still got a long way to go. Many Americans and many Mainers are still hurting, but we're on a pace to make 2014 the strongest year of job growth in America since the 1990s. The principles on which our country was founded are set forth in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution. Not easily summarized, but they surely include the sovereignty of the people, the primacy of individual liberty, the rule of law applied equally to all citizens and to the government itself, and opportunity for every member of society. In his life, Barack Obama has epitomized these American principles. His policies have been grounded in them. His presidency has been committed to advancing them. He has preserved and protected the safety of the American people, the strength of our country, and the sovereignty of our nation. And for that, we here say thank you, Mr. President. I want to say a few words about Democrats, our past and our future. Human beings differ in gender, in language, in religion, in many ways. But there are three attributes that we here tonight share. We are first and foremost Americans. We are Mainers. And most of us are Democrats. It is no coincidence that the principles and ideals of our nation and of our party are the same, because they sprang from the same two minds. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. James Madison was the principal author of the Constitution. And then together, they founded the political party that has become the modern Democratic Party in America. Throughout our nation's history, Democrats have led the effort to enhance the lives of all Americans with good education, good health care, equal justice for all, and most importantly, opportunity for every person in our country. To give everyone the chance to go as high and as far as his or her talent and willingness to work will take them. We support Mike Michaud and our other Democratic candidates not just because of their party label, but because they support the principles and the ideals that are good for the people of Maine and the people of America. More than any other institution in American history, the Democratic Party has led the effort to break down barriers of discrimination, to open up doors of opportunity, to treat every single person as a precious child of a loving God, entitled to personal dignity and self-respect, no matter his background. We've made mistakes. All human beings, all human institutions are fallible, but our mistakes are far outweighed by our achievements. Time doesn't permit me to mention but a few. There was a time in America when 10-year-old boys worked in coal mines and 12-year-old girls worked in textile mills. Over fierce opposition, Democrats enacted child labor laws, and young boys and girls are now in school where they belong. And I ask you, was that good for the people of Maine and America? Less than a century ago, only 1 out of every 100 Americans had any provision for retirement. Most spent their declining years in warehouses of death, in poverty, misery, and declining self-esteem. Over fierce opposition, Democrats created Social Security. I ask you, was that good for the people of Maine and America? And 30 years later, the same thing happened with Medicare, and I ask you, was Medicare good for the people of Maine and America? Before 1965, millions of Americans were denied the right to vote just because of the color of their skin. Over fierce opposition, Democrats passed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Act. And now every American can vote, and I ask you, was that good for the people of Maine? Recently as the 1970s, 85% of our nation's waterways were polluted and our air was increasingly unhealthy. Democrats, led by our own Ed Muskie, passed the Clean Water and the Clean Air Act. And now 85% of our waterways are clean and our air is much healthier. And I ask you, was that good for the people of Maine? I could go on all night about helping young Americans get a good education, about helping the disabled to lead full and independent lives, about permitting each person to fall in love with and marry whatever other person they wanted. But it's time to hear from our next governor and our president. So let me just say a few words about Mike. We Democrats can take pride in the fact that we have led the way to a better life for generations of Americans. But we cannot and we should not survive just on past accomplishments. Great as they were, their history. We must now meet the challenges of the 21st century with the same ingenuity, energy, boldness, and perseverance that we brought to the challenges of the 20th. We must encourage striving and success, foster innovation, and we've got to give every American child the chance to succeed so that we can benefit from the skill and talent of every single member of our society. That won't be easy, but we can start next week by sending a message from Maine to the rest of the country by electing Mike Michaud as our governor. All politicians talk. Few truly listen. Mike Michaud listens to the people of Maine in a way that has enabled him to understand their real concerns, their true objections to different ideas, and to find where common ground exists. And that's why he gets results. Maine needs experienced, effective leadership to meet the great challenges we face in the coming decade. Mike Michaud has a proven record of steady, bipartisan, solid leadership at the state and the national levels. During our country's recent crisis over veterans' health care, Mike was a leader on a bipartisan approach to deal with it. He did... Go ahead. He did the same thing as a respected state legislator and as president of the Maine Senate. In a system like ours, leadership, cooperation, and compromise all are necessary. Mike understands these fundamental principles of governing in a democratic society. He knows how to bring people of different views together to hammer out solutions that are fair and broadly acceptable. I've known and worked with Mike for all of his adult life. His experience will enable him to bring confidence and stability to the state budget, to tackle the problems facing Maine businesses, and to restore a much-needed spirit of bipartisan cooperation in our state government. He has set forth a comprehensive plan to create jobs, improve education and health care, and protect our beautiful Maine environment. When I was 16 years old, I began to get ready to leave my parents' home in Waterville to go to college. I was insecure, uncertain, didn't know much about the world or the ways ahead. My father, who had no education, he worked as a janitor, tried to reassure me. He said to me, "You'll do all right." But he said, "I want you to promise me one thing. Wherever you go and whatever you do, don't you ever forget where you came from." I never have. And Mike Michaud will never forget his roots as a working class man from the town of East Millinocket. And he respects others. He listens to people, including those who disagree with him. He will never insult or look down on anyone else, regardless of their circumstances. He'll be fair, he'll be reasonable, he has that uncommon quality of common sense, and he'll get the job done for the people of Maine. And that's why I'm proud to support and to introduce to you our next governor, Mike Michaud.